Okay,
All
so
right.
here's the real reason why Batgirl was shelved according to Warner Bros. Discovery.
Oh boy.
During a Q2 earnings call on August 4th, Warner Bros. CEO David Zaslav gave some more insight behind his shocking decision to shelve Batgirl, a nearly completed $90 million film starring Dominican American actress Leslie Grace in the title superhero role. And then Batgirl News is mad in a tweet. We're not. Have you noticed that all news is tweets now?
Yeah, I hate that.
We're not going to launch a
Actually,
movie.
and if you try to read like an article, it makes you pay like $8. So
Yeah,
annoying. Like there's still people
12
who read hello.
foot.io. 12 foot IO. 12
Yeah.
foot.io. We're not going to launch a movie until it's ready, Zaslav said when asked specifically about Batgirl getting canceled. We're not going to launch a movie to make a quarter, and we're not going to put a movie out unless we believe in it. On Tuesday,
Honestly,
August 2nd. Oh, yeah. What do you got?
I was gonna say I wouldn't surprise me if this movie is awful. Like it
Yeah.
would not surprise me at
Maybe.
all, based on what was coming out of DC at the time and a lot of the drama behind the scenes. I still
Maybe.
want to see it.
I think they should release every steaming hot pile of shit because that's their
Oh,
job.
amen, brother. Yeah, I think it's a failing on their part if they let it get that far, and it really is that big of a
Right, exactly. Yeah, because there's still an audience for that. I don't think superhero movie viewers are so discerning that you need to be shelving movies because you don't think that
I
they
think
reach
I think that's
standard.
changing. I think it's getting more so because
Yeah.
like the Suicide Squad, the shitty one, made like $1 trillion. It made like a fortune, and then the later one, I mean, the brand damage was done, so it didn't do very well. And I think it was also COVID probably played a part in that. But then you look at other movies that like should have cleared tons of money based on how movies were doing, and audiences were just like, "Oh, it's bad. I'm not going to see it." Like The Marvels was a great example. Very boring
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
Very lame.
Eternals.
Um, yeah, same thing. At least that was kind of weird. Like they were
Yeah.
taking some weird
It was a
risks with
little
that movie.
different, but it
Yeah, it wasn't
still.
different enough. Yeah,
Yeah.
and so like, and then they're acting all surprised that these things flop. Like, who the fuck wanted that?
Yeah.
Like the Eternals, and it's not interesting. It's not a good movie. So
Yeah. Get a guy that wears a weird suit and beats up street villains. I'm
thank you.
tired of
Yes,
like
I want
this
more weird shit.
universal fucking dimensional battle
I mean, I
bullshit.
can tell you, I made a video. I'm going to lock in a prediction right here. There's a movie coming up called The Thunderbolts, and it's the Marvel version of the Suicide Squad. Basically, that's a very loose. What they are in the comics are super villains pretending to be superheroes to infiltrate the Avengers and steal their data. So they're pretending to do good, and some of them start to like it. And there's this like, will they become good guys or will they become bad guys?
So it's,
And you've got
yeah,
like,
that's
and then they,
Suicide
they
Squad.
infiltrate the Avengers while pretending. Yeah, it's a really good run. The new version that they're making for Marvel, I'm locking in. It's going to be horrible. It is nothing but Black Widow like spy characters. They're not pretending to be superheroes. They're anti-heroes. It's a complete misfire on what the concept is supposed to be. And apparently they're going to be fighting the Sentry, who I don't know if you've heard of him. He's mildly known. He's Marvel's Superman. So they've got like Black Widow's sister, Winter Soldier, Ghost from the Ant-Man movie. And they're gonna fight Superman apparently. And I think it sounds fucking awful. I can't wait to
Yeah.
see it.
What? What?
I have no idea. It's a complete fucking disaster.
Yeah, that sounds like someone is like literally like they have one of those bingo things with the that turn and they're picking out bingo balls with characters and plot lines
Exactly.
on it.
And I'm interested in this movie in particular because I wrote my own version of it. Two
Yeah,
of them
you
actually.
you did have on that on your page, huh?
Yeah, so this is going to be the first time I've written something and then someone else has adapted it after I have. So I get
Yeah.
to see if I'm better or not. It's going to be really interesting.
I gotta listen to that so I can watch it like with your story in mind.
Yeah. So
On Tuesday, he broke the internet when reports started rolling in that Batgirl would not be released on HBO and would be a tax write-off to recoup the cost of the money. He defended his decision by discussing the shift in focus that the studio was taking with a merger of HBO Max and Discovery Plus should be illegal into a single streaming service that will launch next summer. He also talked about a 10-year plan focusing just on DC. Warner Bros. Owns the Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman properties. These are brands that are known everywhere in the world, he said, and as part of that, we're going to focus on quality. DC is something that we think we can make better, and we're focused on it now. Didn't they release The Flash? Didn't they still release The Flash?
The Flash had been filmed like 4 years before.
Okay.
and it
So
had
they
been
were
in
like,
development hell. So since the new leadership, only 3 things from DC have released: Blue Beetle, the Suicide Squad, and Peacemaker, and all 3 of those are okay. Blue Beetle's all right. The other 2 are pretty goated. And those are all under James Gunn. So James Gunn is now taken over, and I suspect the quality will go up pretty high. He's pretty consistent. Guardians of the
James
Galaxy,
Gunn
the
is like
Suicide Squad,
their new Zack
um,
Snyder.
Kevin Feige, or more like their new Kevin Feige, because Zack Snyder was bad at his job. I'll say it. I know there's a lot of people who love Zack Snyder. There's like a whole contingent of Snyderites. I don't like Zack Snyder's stuff at all. I think it's a
I
complete...
watched the Rebel Moon movie, and
I haven't.
my jaw was dropping in disbelief by how like much slow motion was in one film.
Oh, dude.
It
It's
is
so awful.
exhausting. I didn't know that you were allowed to do that. I thought you legally had to show people talking.
It was like
for some
we
of
knew
it.
what was going to happen. The whole reason Zack Snyder agreed to do the Justice League movie was because the Flash was in it, and he had an excuse to do as much slow mo as he wanted. Like that was what it was right off the bat.
That
Zack
makes
Snyder
perfect sense.
That he read the contract and he's like, "Oh fuck, I get to make Batman kill people and I get to do slow mo scenes. I'm fucking in." And
Yeah.
complete misfire, and they were surprised that it flopped eventually. I don't know.
Yeah, the bonus scene in the Snyder cut where
I actually like the Snyder cut. That was the thing that surprised me the most.
where the
But I was
Joker
okay with it.
threatens to give
I forgot
Batman a
about
reach
that.
around.
Oh, dude, Jared Leto's Joker. Like, who approved that? Like, I want to be the fly on the wall when the studio approved that shit.
Zack
Like,
Snyder was beating someone with a fucking switch off a tree.
he's damaged. He's damaged. Okay, so hopping off this, have you heard of the Ayer cut?
No.
Okay, so the Ayer cut. So David Ayer made Suicide Squad, the first one, the really awful one, and he's fully contended that his movie is actually incredible. That it's like this magnum opus that, like the Snyder cut. And so he tried to win everyone over by leaking script pages, and they are somehow worse than the script pages that were already in the movie. They are like bizarre, and they're super strange and awful. And I can't even remember what was in them. I remember that like King Shark hired the assassin, hired Deadshot to kill the guy at the beginning of the movie that led to him getting on the team. And it's supposed to be a big twist that King Shark is apparently, or not King Shark, Killer Croc was like a drug kingpin who's secretly running the streets. It was like something really dumb. And it's like all these bad ideas, and you're like, how could you have possibly made the movie worse than it already was?
I watched that in theaters and I fell asleep.
I watched it in theaters and was just like, huh. I'd never heard of the Suicide Squad before that, and that got me to go home and read the comics because I like the idea. And boy, the comics are better.
And I was so excited in the first 4 minutes of the movie because they kill off a whole Suicide Squad and then they get the new Suicide Squad, and I was just like,
"Oh no, that's the second one."
Oh, is that the second one? Is that in the second one?
That's in the second one. The first one only has 6 characters, and they only kill one of them.
But I haven't seen this. Don't they kill Brad Pitt? Isn't Brad Pitt in the first one and he dies? He's invisible guy and he falls into
That's Deadpool 2.
Deadpool. God damn it! So I didn't like that movie at all then.
Yeah. So yeah, Suicide Squad.
Because I'm thinking of a whole different movie, and I'm just like, yeah, that's what I liked about it.
Does the same gimmick. Like they have the opening scene of this like team that they introduce for like 15 minutes, and then they all die horribly instantly, and it's very funny.
So, do I remember a single? I remember Will Smith wearing an eyepiece. Yeah. Okay.
So all I remember about the first one, and I remember the plot because I've gone back and watched it when I was writing my stuff to see like what not to do, and I remember the editing is just awful. Like I don't know how a professionally made movie has editing so terrible. It's like genuinely horrible. And then it came out that they hired a trailer editing house to edit the movie, so the whole movie's edited like a movie trailer, and that explains so much. And I don't know. Again, this is the same executives at Warner Brother who approved that have shelved movies for a tax write-off. Like that's a good idea. You know who's really going to want to come to your studio now? Directors to make movies. Yeah, they're real excited to come to the studio where their stuff is guaranteed to get shelved for a tax write-off. They've just lost all their talent.
Do you think they could make any type of good argument for doing something like that ever?
I think if the movie is genuinely that horrible and they know it's going to be a flop, I suspect Batgirl might have been that. I don't know why. Just like a gut feeling. I don't have any evidence. Just kind of a vibe I get.
Yeah.
But the other one, I think it was Coyote versus Acme. From all
Yeah.
accounts, that's a good movie. Like
Yeah.
reviewers saw it, it was good.
The early screenings were supposedly like really good too. Like everybody
Were
liked
really
it.
good. I heard the opposite for Batgirl, but for that one, I have no idea why.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you why. I can't
Well,
make an argument for it.
and I didn't save the article, but while I was looking for it, I didn't want to talk about two different shelf movies and like
Yeah, no.
articles in the same thing. But I did read an article where they were talking, but it's from 2023, so it's new news probably happened since then. But they were talking about Warner Bros. Gave them the go ahead to shop it with other studios, but that was a whole year
that
ago.
happens. And then nothing came of it, and then
Yeah.
they binged the movie.
Bullshit.
So I don't know.
It's fucked up.
It's bullshit. It's so stupid. And I actually think with all the drama they've built up, if they actually release the thing, I think it would do really well.
Yeah,
I actually do, because there's a
I
lot
think
of brand
Batgirl
name
would do
recognition
well
for it.
since they tried to shelf it. They should just.
I think
threaten to shelf
Batgirl is
movies
going to
now.
stay shelved now because they're rebooting DC,
Yeah,
and that would be confusing. I think that's going to stay shelved forever unless it leaks. When that could happen. That could happen.
has that?
So.
Do you know of an example of like a full movie leaking from a studio like that?
Deadpool, they filmed 15 minutes of footage for the movie to show the board of executives. They said it was terrible and that no one would ever like Deadpool. So they leaked Ryan Reynolds leaked the footage, and it led to the movie being made because the fan reaction was so positive. And the sequence was amazing. I can't believe the studio execs saw it and were like, "Oh, it's going to be a disaster." So
Yeah, they were like
obviously they were super wrong.
they were like comic book nerds and meta humor. Yeah, right. Get out of here.
What they were like is R-rated superhero.
Yeah.
Come on, but like all comics
They're
are
like,
R-rated.
don't you know
Basically.
all comic book fans are 12? They can't even watch that yet.
And you know what 12-year-olds love is R-rated movies. Like
Well,
unironically.
you know, 12-year-olds
They're the
grow
main-
up after 40 years of comic books. Like, it's like they forget that they're like there's generations of comic book nerds. Like,
Also, I think a lot of comic books are super violent, and that's never really. Actually, I will say
That's
one
what
thing
they
I really
watch
like
them
about
for.
Deadpool. That's what I like about Deadpool and Wolverine is it's so violent and over the top, and it was really nice to see that in a comic book movie again.
yeah, I haven't watched
I
that
hope they
yet.
do more of that. I was charmed by it. It was surprisingly okay. I think it's action and some of its goofier cameos are really what pulls the whole thing together. But
Yeah. I heard you had to
plot
know
could
like a
use some
lot
work.
of like development knowledge to truly enjoy the film.
there's a lot of in jokes about like canceled projects, like characters
Yeah.
from movies that never existed appear.
Yeah, like Channing Tatum playing Gambit was supposed to be like an
and
old
there's
movie.
There's some other ones that appear that are like just characters that never existed, and I think that's funny. Like that's really charming.
Yeah,
That's a good idea.
yeah. Well, especially with the Deadpool IP is like, let's get whatever characters we can throw into our next movie. Like they don't seem to like care about continuity or being very discerning with who they pick for each movie.
I think what worked about the cameos in Deadpool and Wolverine is that they were all characters no one gives a shit about, that were like forgotten characters from bad movies, and that makes them funny when they show up. Unlike something like Multiverse of Madness, where the cameos are sort of annoying because they're characters that you like, but they don't have any right to be in that particular movie. A horrible reject superhero from the 90s appearing in, obviously only one or two of the characters apply that. There's one character that I can't say that to, or people lynch me. But that makes it interesting to me, like as a cameo. But I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna mumble some bullshit.
I'm just kind of worried that back to the canceled movies. I think this is going to be a trend going forward. I think you're going to see it happen more and more until some kind of like, oh my god, legislation gets put in place.
Yeah,
It's just
exactly.
Like, hey, tax dollars shouldn't be going to bail out your turd movie.
Yeah.
You produce.
It shouldn't, like, it should be against the rules intuitively. It should have been like they went to go
absurd
file
to
the
me.
paperwork and someone was like, you can't do that.
I don't know. I'm kind of a libertarian. I don't want to get political, but I'm kind of a libertarian. So on the whole, I'm against government interference. But when it comes to this one specific thing, I'm like, this is really stupid. Why should the government ever interfere in?
Yeah. Well,
Brothers.
if there's any good use that everyone can agree on with government, it's like basic regulations to keep fucking things working right,
basic regulations is the key word. Yeah. But we shouldn't be how fucking Warner Brothers, because they made Batgirl and it turned out to be a stinker. I mean, no.
No, that's wild. It should be like your business can earn a certain amount a year before you're just like you can't just get tax breaks on big purchases like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Because at that point you're just like gambling with like everybody else's money.
Well, I
But
mean, and I kind of get it. Like, if the government really will give you $150 million to put this movie in a shelf, there's no risk to losing on money. You think what's
yeah,
going to be a flop? Why wouldn't you do it?
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
sure. I mean, it builds a lot of bad will, but when you think about it like that, you're like, I kind of understand why the studio did it.
Yeah. I mean, on paper, and it's legal. Anyone would do it. I mean, if you owned a movie studio, you would probably do it for some projects. It just probably wouldn't be the biggest project, and everybody knows about it that you're shelving. You know, like
Oh man, I'd be
movie
evil. I'd be like a
studios.
super villain.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
exactly.
guys give me a tiny amount of power, I'm gonna go full on evil. I'm gonna be like Mr. Beast. No sleep challenge. How many directors' projects can I ruin? I'm gonna come in and go, yeah. Here's the deal, director. This isn't gonna work. I'm thinking about redubbing the whole movie and just changing the plot, and there's nothing you can do about it. And I'm just gonna do that not because I want to, but because it's funny.
Yeah.
It's just what's gonna happen. So